Hey everyone, welcome back to Comic Culture. We're going to do another key comic flip through. Today's episode, we're going to go over issue number 339 of Thor, released October 4th, 1983 from the great Walter Simonson. Doing the the pencils, the inking, kind of doing all kinds of stuff on this book. The first appearance of Strombreaker. Very excited to get into this one. I love the difference between this issue and the MCU Strombreaker. A lot of similarities, obviously a lot of differences as well. Let's break down this issue right now. Now, this issue is actually coming off of a big battle between Beta Ray Bill and Thor, trying to see who exactly is the most worthy to wield Mjolnir. And so we had this gigantic battle previous to this issue right here, and this is kind of the aftermath. Actually, Beta Ray Bill got the upper hand and actually defeated Thor. Now, he's got a lot of inspiration, if you want to call it that, to win this battle. Beta Ray Bill is very desperate to win this battle because his homeland is actually being invaded by these demons. We're going to see a little bit of that talked about through this issue. So he's got a lot of people back home that are depending on him. So he actually wins the day against Thor, and we actually see him carrying Thor's body right here towards the end of this battle, surrounded by Asgardians. We have Odin up here, of course, and everyone's just kind of surprised that Beta Ray Bill was actually able to beat Thor in this moment. But I think it's a pretty cool, honorable spread right here just to open up with Beta Ray Bill kind of cradling Thor, bringing him in after the battle is won. He actually does not kill Thor in here, and again, we're going to get into that momentarily. And of course, we have Odin here demanding that, hey, grab these two brave warriors, let's get them into the doctors, the physicians, and let's use all the might of the nine worlds to heal these brave warriors in their battle. Now, we get a conversation here about there's a recurring theme about how ugly Beta Ray Bill is. Now, he's like half robot, half alien kind of things. He's kind of like a horse alien in a way. And there's been a lot of commentary recently about that in other runs. Daniel Warren Johnson's run most recently talks about that as well. That's a very good series to pick up if you haven't yet. It's absolutely amazing. But we have this reoccurring theme with Lady Sif kind of having this flirtatious thing with Beta Ray Bill over time. And we get a little bit of that in here as well, talking about how brave he is and how maybe you shouldn't judge the person by their looks, but more by their merit. And of course, we have this back and forth here between Lorelei and Lady Sif here. Lady Sif obviously taking the high road and basically outlining that, hey, you're just looking at his appearances, but, he's more than that. So just keep that in mind. Of course, Lady Sif here, her rationale is backed up by Odin and the Asgardians as well. So obviously just reinstating the noble path in that discussion. So we have both our warriors still alive. They're on the mend right now. We have Odin going back to visit Thor, and Thor's kind of disgraced. He's like, I lost. I cannot believe it. I'm not worthy of being the god of thunder. I'm not worthy of godhood. I'm not worthy of Mjolnir. And I need to just go away. I need to be gone forever and just, go my own path and leave this current life behind. Of course, Odin being very old and wise and has kind of seen it all, been through it all, done it all. He's just like, yeah, sure. Maybe, possibly my son. We'll see. Well, I'm going to go have a discussion with Beta Ray Bill and we'll see what's going on. I just love this, immaturity that Thor has. He's like, I've been bested, I'm ashamed, I'm gonna hide away. And Odin's like, yeah, sure. Hey, hang on a second. Let me go have this conversation with Beta Ray Bill. Kind of ignoring his depression almost here, which I thought was kind of funny as I was reading this issue. And then of course we have Odin coming over here, coming to talk to Beta Ray Bill. Now Beta Ray Bill, again, he's doing this he got in this battle with Thor for a noble reason. He just wasn't some jerk wanting to get power. He wanted to use this power to go back home and save his planet. And Odin's understanding this. He's having a conversation with him saying that basically, I needed to do this. I needed the hammer's power, but there's going to be a day where a stronger challenger comes along, and what are we going to do then? Things like that. And Odin, basically assessing the situation here, kind of comes up with an idea of, how do I please both of these people? I love my son. I don't want him to go down this path of being exiled and things like that. I want to provide Beta Ray Bill because he's a man of good intention and full of honor. I want to provide him with enough power, enough resource to do the things he needs to do, take care of his people, protect his people, because he's an honorable person as well. So I have this idea right here, and Odin kind of goes into it just a little bit, hinting about how he can provide this great power to Beta Ray Bill. So we're going to explore this here in a little bit, but I like this moment right here across the bottom where he announces here, "You've given me something more precious than anything, the life of my son. Therefore, I'll give you what aid I can. I shall bestow upon you a gift that carries an awesome responsibility." Kind of, again, talking about the enchantment for Mjolnir, but almost in a different way, you know? So he's going to try to find a way to help out Beta Ray Bill in this moment down here. So he travels far and wide over to Nidavellir, which is a place that we saw inside of the MCU when Strombreaker was being created. And of course, we have a little bit of different setting here. Obviously, we have Odin coming up, and we have some of the dwarfs noticing his return, and he immediately gets named by this master craftsman dwarf called Eitri, who again we saw inside of the movie. And obviously the situation is very different, but they come to an agreement where, hey, here's the All-Father coming to Nidavellir for assistance. Yes, I will help you, but under one circumstance. I have one thing we need to do. We need one of your strongest lady fighters to come here and take on our champion. And if you win, I will go ahead and make this weapon you want me to make. But if our dwarf wins, she actually remains here forever to serve as the dwarf's essentially property, his wife, something like that. And so, you know, that's a hard decision or a hard discussion to have. He has plenty of women that would be up for that challenge. And of course, we flash over here to Lady Sif getting on her horse with her battle armor, preparing to go. And of course, Thor and Beta Ray Bill are, you know, on the men still. They're talking right now about the different positions they're now in, you know, with Thor basically saying, I lost Bill. I couldn't have been, but I couldn't have lost to a more honorable foe. And so there's a lot of mutual respect between the two. But they notice that Lady Sif is essentially preparing for battle, and they don't really know why at this point. Thor even demanding from the nurse an explanation about what is going on right there. And all she knows is she's preparing for battle and she may not return. So they don't really know exactly why she's leaving, but she's leaving at this moment. And there's kind of a flashback here as she's riding out. There's a flashback to the conversation between Lady Sif and Odin here saying, you know, I dare not ask this of you because you may not return. You're a honorable warrior. You're the best there is, but the stakes might be a little too high. I can never ask this of you. I cannot command this of you. The decision rests with you. And so she actually comes to the conclusion herself that yes, she will battle for this, essentially this weapon that's going to help Bill, because she is basically in love with Bill and she's basically ready to do anything she can to help him out. And so she begins on her travels over to Nidavellir. Now she's going up the mountains and whatnot. She actually gets ambushed by the dwarf that she was sent here to fight, kind of landing a sneaky blow right there. But you know, she's a warrior, man. She knows exactly what she's doing, able to dodge some of the attacks, able to use her sword effectively, stab him a few times. And he's basically going on and on about how happy he is that she's here and she's going to be his slave forever, basically. But we get the beginning of this battle over here. Now, we do kind of flash to another spot. This is an interesting area inside the book because we're actually setting up, Walter Simonson's actually setting up a couple different stories right here, and we're going to get more into that in later issues. And one of these is a little explanation from Volstagg about what's actually going on. This one battle that Loki had, talking about the arrow and talking about the bow and talking about being sent down to the land of Hela, the goddess of death. But again, these are stories that they're setting up for later. Then there's a story over here of another artifact, another weapon being forged, and we have this doom. Very, very cool. When you see something like this with the different sparks and you have the big doom underneath there, you can like hear it and feel it, which I think is a great thing that he's able to do in this book. Just really make the text speak, make the images work, and that's exactly what we see here. And it says, the storm is rising. And again, we're going to kind of go to another spot right now. We're actually back on Earth at some lighthouse back up in Quebec. And there's a grumpy old guy here talking about how he got ripped off by some sales lady. She actually sold him a food processor or something like that. And he's like, I bet those eyelashes weren't even real, things like that. So he's really grumpy, thinking that she's coming back because he hears this, you know, this basically like a knock on a door or something like that. But we get this giant demon monster rising up from the ground where he is, I guess basically destroying the lighthouse. But this is all we get to see of this before we go back into our main story. So we have a few different stories being alluded to in these 3 pages right here. So it's just planting the seeds for some further stuff, which I think is pretty cool. But we actually flash back to Lady Sif and the dwarf's battle right here. And, you know, she's continuing to dodge all of his attacks, basically tricking him into saying, you know, you might be able to catch me if you drop your club and you use both of your hands. And she takes that opportunity to find more times to, you know, cut him, stab him in the hand, things like that. And she used the flat side of her sword to basically knock him unconscious, hit him right on the head, knock him out, and she basically wins the day right here, saying, killing this guy is kind of a waste of time and a waste of life. Hey, Eitri, can we just say that, I won? Obviously, I've won right here. And he basically admits to her, yes, you've most certainly won. And thank you so much, because this guy was actually ruling the dwarves right now, and he was making everyone's lives miserable. And now that he was defeated by a woman, now, albeit it's, one of the most powerful women there is over in Asgard, he's going to be full of shame. He's never going to want to come out of his cave again. And now I can rule. So thank you very much for taking out this big pain in the butt that we've had in our world. So make haste, lads, prepare the fires, stoke the furnaces. We go to work. So this was kind of a cool thing. It was kind of like misogynistic to begin with, but like it ended up being this thing where, hey, this guy's a jerk and we need him to be, knocked down a little bit. And so what better way to do that than to use his own misogyny against him? And so he's going to be defeated by a woman. He's going to feel so much shame apparently in that he'll never come out, and it's all going to work out. And of course she was going to win. She's amazing, right? Then we get another very interesting moment here between Sif. She returns back to Asgard talking to Beta Ray Bill. He's fully recovered from all of his wounds. And she's kind of poking a little bit at him, basically asking, is there any way that you could, find time or whatever? Are you ever going to come back to Asgard? Do you ever see yourself coming back here? What's your future look like? I mean, she's basically poking around, seeing what kind of interest he might have in her, because she's interested, again, based on like his merit and his honor, so I think it's pretty cool. But, he goes into all this dialogue about saying, yeah, he's recovered from his wounds, but I was basically created to be this savior for my world, and I need to do that. I'm half machine and monster, and I don't have enough humanity left for anybody. So she's reaching for his hand, and he kind of pulls away, and I don't have that humanity for anybody, but I could never bring myself to come back to this beautiful place, no matter how much I might long to. So there's obviously a hint here that this relationship or these feelings might be going both ways, but he's basically saying, listen, I have a lot of stuff to take care of. I have a world to save. I have people that are depending on me. I have this power that was given to me, so I have to use it. Although, yes, my heart is in that direction as well, but I just need to take care of some business first. And, she understands. I mean, she's a warrior as well, so she kind of gets it as well. But it's just kind of sad. And we're going to see that relationship, touch and go throughout these issues and into other series as well. But again, we're going back over to Neverdelir. We're in the furnaces now. This is a really cool scene because, in the MCU, we did get to see a little bit of the furnace. Now, it was a dwarf star and things like that, and it was extinguished and they had to restart it. This is like a big, gigantic furnace carved into the mountains, and it's been there forever. It's like the ageless mountains of Neverdelir or something like that. So it probably just has so much stuff built into it, generation after generation. And so we get a little taste of how grand it is from these big wide scenes right here. And of course we get to see the scale of everything. And these are dwarves, but they're still good size. And we get to see how small they are compared to some of the equipment over here. So they're just kind of getting everything ready. And now we have a lot of the Asgardians here. Of course, we have Odin and Thor and Sif and Beta Ray Bill. They're watching this, essentially the ceremony, because this is a big, big deal in this culture to craft such a weapon like this. And of course, we have the master craftsman himself doing it. And so they're kind of having all this talk about the Yuri, which is basically the metal that they use, and that it's almost ready. The color is almost right. And they're judging all of this off of color, off of feel, off of intuition, off of experience. And he's giving out all these orders to his fellow dwarfs, like, okay, it's ready, now pour it, now do this, now do that. And he's yelling all these commands, almost like he's orchestrating all of this. And I think it's pretty awesome how he told this scene right here. I just love the color, the perspectives and things like that. This is a really cool page. I really got a kick out of that. And of course, Odin can feel the moment building as well when he is going to be called upon to enchant this weapon like he did with Mjolnir. And so we get a lot of that right here. Stand back. This is the moment we succeed or fail. I must strike with the full force of the Odin power to achieve our purpose. And so he's stepping up right now, chanting Strombreaker, saying, so be it, in a big Cthulhu. You can see the power of the Odin force going into this weapon. And then Beta Ray Bill stepping up to the plate, being told, reach into the furnace with the special glove, pull out your new weapon, and boom, we get to see it right here with that bada boom, which I love that right here. The enchantment is mine once more. Full page spread. Love that right here. Very reminiscent, obviously, of the cover. This is the scene right here coming out of the furnace with Odin enchanting the weapon, Beta Ray Bill with the gauntlet, or with the furnace glove, picking it up. So we get a little bit of a retelling of that within these two pages right here. So now we have Beta Ray Bill with the full power of Strombreaker showed off right there in a pretty climactic moment. It was really cool to kind of see all of that. And again, wasting no time. So Beta Ray Bill is imbued now with this new weapon, with this new magical power. And so he's talking with Odin right here saying, I need to leave. I need to go right now. And Odin telling him, yeah, you're absolutely right. You need to get out of here because there's no time. The demons are at the doorstep. And he also gives back Thor Mjolnir right here as well. So they both get their weapons back. They both get their honor back in this moment right here, which is really great. Thor, having basically developed this friendship with Beta Ray Bill during this entire thing, says, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go help beat back the demons and make sure you succeed because you're not going to succeed on your own. I'm going with you. Together we may prevail. Odin, again, blessing this as well. I knew you were going to do this. Nothing's going to get in your way. Go ahead and go save the day. And we need to get there right away because there's no time to lose. So Thor calls upon Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder, those two annoying space horses from the last Thor movie. Well, here they are inside of this book, and they both jump into the carriage to set off to help Beta Ray Bill's world. But we have Lady Sith coming in here as well, joining the battle. He's saying, I've earned my right to be here. Thor, quickly obliging to that, she hops into the carriage as well. Look to the weapons, you demons. The foe awaits and a joyous battle is before us. And they head off to Beta Ray Bill's world to save the day. So that will wrap up Thor issue 339. So some of the key elements, again, first appearance of Strombreaker, very great storytelling leading up into that. Beta Ray Bill is a very honorable person, honorable warrior, set out to do the right thing, just trying to get the right powers, trying to get the right artifacts to do that. Comes across Thor, actually beats him basically out of the desperation of saving his whole world. And, that's recognized and it's rewarded in here by Odin, by Thor, by Sif. Everybody steps up to the plate to do whatever they can do to bring this new power on. But I especially like all the different setups that Walter Simonson was doing in here to set up some different stories. And I really, really enjoyed this ceremony of building Strombreaker itself, the orchestrating that was going on as well, and the big moment over here with this big splash page showing Beta Ray Bill holding his weapon for the first time. Very, very cool. And I just love how the cover shows this as well. I'm a big fan of the cover being relevant to the story. A lot of modern comics, they'll just have like a character on it. It'll have nothing to do with the story itself. But this is like the elevator pitch for the entire book. We have the Asgardians in the background. We have Odin enchanting a new mysterious weapon for Beta Ray Bill in Nidavellir. It's an amazing cover. I absolutely love that. And this whole page here basically outlines that. And then again, towards the end, we have all of our forces coming back together, getting powered back up, getting their stuff together and heading out to save the day. So a very, very cool book indeed. I hope you enjoyed that one. Let me know down below if you were reading this when it came out or if you read it later, or if you have any additional thoughts or backstory to this issue at all. I would really appreciate that down below in the comments. And while you're down there, like, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell notification to be alerted whenever I put out a new comic flip through. And if you haven't yet, check out that join button. I do exclusive content for my members all the time, so you don't want to miss that. But as always, happy reading, and I will see you down below in the comments.